Well, I want you. I said I want you. And I want you to rescue me. Welcome everyone to another episode of Y&T and Friends Vinyl Talk. I'm your host Brian Foster, and today we'll do part two of the series with this album here, Y&T's Yesterday and Today Live. Everybody's got their copy, and to help me kind of deep dive into this album, two familiar faces on the channel. Been on it before, but first time together. John the Music Nut. John, welcome back.
Thank you, Brian. Great to be here.
And of course, Mr. Tim Durling, who wrote this nice book that John contributed to as well. So, Tim, good to see you again.
I don't have the book in front of me, but I've got my
There you go.
coffee
You got
mug.
the cup.
I got my pens in. Yeah,
Got the cup.
yeah.
So for those of you that watched Tim's channel when he had the book and did the deep dives, John did all the deep dives on there for the studio album. So when it came to Yesterday and Today Live, I was thinking, well, who better to have to deep dive on this but these two gentlemen here. So thanks again, guys, for coming on and talking about this album, which is I think we're gonna all kind of gush a little bit over this album today.
Yeah. Thanks, Brian. Listen, any chance to talk Y&T, I'm in. If I say no, I can't, there's something wrong. And yeah, this is I think an exceptional live album. Just really, really good. And I have very fond memories of finding it because I didn't know it was coming out.
Right. So I guess, we'll kind of get into that then a little bit. So, 10 came out summer of 90. This one came out summer of 91, so kind of real quick afterwards. But yeah, so John, you kind of remember knowing this was coming out or knowing that this was supposed to be a farewell, or what are your...
I didn't know until years later. I bought 10 as a new release. Then I heard they were breaking up. So when I heard that they were breaking up, they went off my radar. It wouldn't be till later on in the 90s that they put this album out. And then I saw it out there. Eventually I picked it up, and a lot of times I listened to this album was on like Touch Tunes jukeboxes, because somehow, even if like a genre was banned from the jukebox, particularly at the club that I used to go to that had Touch Tunes, they always had this one in there. And I don't know if it was because it was on Metal Blade compared to being on A&M or Geffen, but somehow it slipped through the cracks that way. So I would play a lot of songs off of this album at the bar, and they'd be like, "Who is this?" And I go, "Oh, this is Y&T." And a lot of people didn't know who they were because a lot of them were older and they were into different genres of music. And then the ones who are around my age are like, "Oh, it's Summertime Girls Band," right? No, that's...
Hey, you're listening? Does that sound like...
Yeah, that's like 1% of what they did. So,
Yeah.
But so I didn't know it originally, but I did know it later on in the decade.
Okay. Tim, I know you got into the band with 10. So
Yeah. So in typical me fashion, I get into a band and they break up. I didn't know that at the time, but I mean, I guess I kind of had a sixth sense about it because I knew that they'd been around for a while. Obviously, it was their 10th album, and I did know that it was called 10 because it was their 10th album. And I also knew that I saw the video to Don't Be Afraid of the Dark once, the one time I was able to catch it on my VCR. That's it. Never heard it on the radio. So I knew that chances are good that, well, they're not going to do this much longer if they're not selling if they're not selling albums. And actually, even though that was an odd time to get into the band, it was kind of a cool time because not too long after 10 came out, the Best of 81 to 85 came out. I bought that not knowing that it was out, but that introduced me to a lot of the previous stuff. I hadn't heard anything from Earthshaker at the time that came up, because all I was able to find was Black Tiger Onward. And then, the next summer, I remember like grade 11 had just gotten out, and made it like a family trip, and I found, oh, what's this? Yesterday and Today Live. And I bought it without question. And that's when I knew for sure that they had broken up, because their farewell performance. Um, but the liner notes inside of there from Brian Brinkerhoff were very helpful to me in filling in a few blanks. For one thing, I didn't know what the second album was called, and it's the first time I heard Struck Down. I had no idea what their second album was called. I remember I used to think, well, maybe their second album's called Go for the Throat, because I don't know where else that song would have come from. I was just trying to piece it together. It was like when I got into Whitesnake, I was trying to figure out the timeline of when who was in the band and what albums came out when. Because I remember I used to get John Sykes and Adrian Vandenberg mixed up.
Mixed up.
They're both blonde guitar players, and Cozy Powell and Ainsley Dunbar, I still think look like each other, but that's another story. Um, but yeah, I mean, I remember getting that and seeing, the cool collage that's inside of it. I always really liked that collage of all the backstage passes
Yeah.
and all of the memorabilia, And then I like the fact that, all the lineups are great, but I think I still think that this lineup is the most musically correct, the most musically adept lineup that Y&T ever had. I always compare it to the Kiss lineup with Bruce Kulick and Eric Singer. Like, they could literally play anything from the catalog with very minimal rehearsal and make it sound great. Different than the original, but still familiar. I remember thinking I'd never seen Dave play a guitar like that. That's It's not a 335, but it's a Gibson. I don't know what the brand is, but I mean, obviously, I was like, well, I've never seen that picture before.
No.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, I was excited to hear it, and I'm like, so yeah. So at the time I got into Y&T, within a year, there were three things that came out for me to listen to, and really, those three albums covered a lot of their career. As a matter of fact, you mentioned Summertime Girls. Down for the Count is the only one of their albums that isn't represented on here at least once. So it's a pretty good overview of their entire career.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember obviously I got 10, day it came out and, bought that. And then I can't remember if it was a music magazine or something where I heard something about farewell tour, they're breaking up, something like that. And the possibility of a recording or something like that. And then there's a local music shop that I used to go to here in town, and then I saw this hanging up. Uh,
That is cool.
so I'm
That is
like,
cool.
okay.
An
And
interview with Dave
they were able to
Meniketti.
get this is actually they got this import in. It has this IRS record sticker on it,
Oh
import
yeah.
thing from UK for me. So this kind of helped me bridge that gap with like, okay, there is that
So
album coming out.
so was that the same as this
Yes,
copy?
yes.
Okay. That's the one with the weird Zorro 21
Zorro 21. Yep, that's it.
catalog number for some
Yeah,
reason.
yep. Cassette's what, Zorro 22 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
with that too, like, I kind of want to talk about the production of this and the sound quality on this album. Their manager Scott Borade's the one that produced this. He produced Open Fire as well.
Yeah.
Um, but I saw I can't remember the name now, but it was mixed at Artisan Studios, I believe. And what's that guy's name? Uh, duh, 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 duh. Gregory something or other Italian name.
Fulganiti or something like that.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
he did
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
couple of
He's a
Sammy
ma
Hagars and
Yeah, he's a mastering engineer. I think he mastered 10, and he might have mastered Contagious too. But yeah, you'll see his name. He's not as You don't see his name as often as like Bob Ludwig or George Marino, but you'll see his name come up once in a while as a mastering engineer.
But to me, the sound on this is just, they captured this incredible. And doesn't sound to me like there was a whole lot of overdubs done. But what do you guys think?
No, I think it's a really, really good sounding live album. It's very ye- it's a cliche to say, but I mean, a live album to me should sound like you were there. And this sounds like you were there. It sounds like you're just in the first few rows. But when I say the first few rows, but the sound is such like you're not getting all guitar or all bass frequencies. You're getting a really good blend of everyone. The drums sound great. The like Dave sounds great. The harmonies are great. It's just a really, really well recorded live album. And one cool thing about that when it did come out originally on Metal Blade, um, that's when Metal Blade had their deal with Warner Brothers. So it was well distributed because I remember I got this and then my buddy John found it here in Canada. He found a Canadian version of it. So it was for a while, it wasn't hard to find. It was in the stores like a new release. Yeah. Yeah.
That's an
Um,
Indonesian cassette. So yeah,
I
it
got a few of
was all
those.
over the world.
Yeah, I got a few Indonesian cassettes. Not that one in particular, but yeah, they had a long reach. So that I think helped. But the sad thing is about it, I also remember about 3 years later. Well, I introduced a buddy of mine to Y&T, which I think we've all done. And the first thing he got, because it was in a cutout bin, was the CD of Yesterday and Today Live with a cut in it. And so, obviously there were leftover copies, but
Yeah.
it's, listen, I know people swear by the original lineup, and I love the original lineup, of course, but I listen to this way more than I listen to Open Fire.
Yeah. John, what do you think about the sound?
Sound quality is excellent on. Yeah, you can really hear the space between the instruments very well. It does sound like you're there, just like Tim emphasized. I like the balance between the crowd and the band. Is
Yes.
you could tell the crowd is really into it, but it's not really dominating the sound.
Yeah, and
Uh,
they seem to pump it up just in the right spots too. The
correct.
crowd noise.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yes, I think very well recorded. And I thought Open Fire was well recorded as well, as far
It's
as
well
that.
recorded, yeah. But
Yeah.
Brian and I talked about that. It's a strange little release, really, when you think
Yeah.
about it. The track listing on how short it is.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
got
what's on it and
17
what's not
songs.
on it.
I'm sorry.
What's on it and what isn't
What's
on it.
not on it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes, because you don't have what would have been their new release or nothing from Mean Streak. It was
Yeah,
Yep.
you have like everything represented except for Down for the Count, of course. So
yeah,
So when they went out on tour and for 10, toured that for a couple months, and then I think that's when they realized Geffen was pulling the plug on everything. So I believe they did, when they decided to call it quits and do a little farewell tour on the West Coast. I believe they did 10 shows in California that was under the farewell moniker. Um,
yeah,
it's tough to find like complete set lists for those 10
yeah,
shows.
yeah. You'd think that
Um,
by now we'd have come across someone that was,
yeah, I even reached out to a couple people today that I know that were there to see if they could send it to me, but they didn't weren't able to do that today. But because there were some more 10 stuff that was played. I know that like Lucy was played on some of these farewell shows. You had Summertime Girls, obviously, and some of
yeah,
the other Contagious and that were played on there. So, um, but you can only fit so much on even a double album.
yeah,
So why don't we kind of talk about these tracks, and obviously like we've talked about the songs themselves, but just as far as how they kind of sound on here, any differences that you kind of noticed, or what you really like about these recordings of there. So we'll start with Mean Streak and John.
I think most of these songs sound very true to their original. They may have a little more fire to them. But Mean Streak is a fantastic opener, even though I saw them 3 times and never saw them open with Mean
Now,
Streak. But it works here very, very well. I mean, this is one of their signature songs. This is a song I think that's gained more traction over the years. And I think it's a lot because of that lyric.
Yeah.
The lyric is very, very clever for a hard rock song, in my opinion. Mean Streak is a wonderful opener. You know, it starts the show out on fire. You gotta love it.
Yep. Tim?
I think it's great. And I think that it's cool that we have, because my opinion, Dave just got better as a vocalist, really starting within Rock We Trust. And then you've got him singing the older songs with that much improved voice.
Yeah.
So it's great to hear how he interprets this. Jimmy, on the documentary, I remember Jimmy saying the band said to him, "Don't worry about playing the songs exactly as they were recorded." So the parts that you want to hear, like the da 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 da, the main parts you want to hear, he does them, but he throws in his own flair. And again, listening to this, I just shake my head and go, "You're telling me that Mike Stone didn't think he was good enough to record?"
Right.
Like, I mean, he's an amazing drummer, and he really, and it's cool that you get this document of the full band playing the show, it's just those four guys. There's no ghost musicians here.
Nope.
But yeah, it's a solid start. I mean, there is a certain amount of melancholy with it, just realizing that, wow, at the time we didn't know they were going to reunite. And it was just like, man, I just got into this band, and it's like it's so sad that there's going to be a finite number of albums and songs, but like it's a celebration, that's for sure. It's interesting that it says it was recorded on the 29th and the 31st of
First.
December
Yeah.
1990.
Yep.
Then not on the 30th. They must have taken it. Maybe there
Take a
was somebody
day
else
off.
playing. Yeah. But yeah, no. I mean, how better? Like, if you're going to do a farewell tour, you're going to have the diehards come out. And probably nobody was expecting them to open with one of their best known songs.
Yep.
So that, the crowd, I would think the crowd would have been into it from
Yeah.
the get-go.
No, I think you talked about Jimmy's drumming. I think his like use of hi-hats on this too was just, really kind of stands out. Note I kind of made is like I miss Phil's backing vocals.
Yeah. Yep.
Just hearing those on these songs, throughout this whole album, is just, we'll talk about, his song later, but his his vocals were unique, and it just added so much to
Yeah.
the songs. And then um, another thing that we'll talk about throughout this thing, for me anyway, that Dave just seems like there was extra oomph in the solos and stuff like that playing, being like the last show, or supposedly last show, because it's just some incredible guitar work on this throughout this show. All right, Hurricane. Tim, we'll start with you this time.
Wow. I mean, so this is a song I'd really only just kind of discovered the band, but in degrees, right? So Hurricane, I first heard it on the Best of 81 to 85, and what? I mean, that what a killer riff. And because I hadn't gotten Earthshaker at this point. We'll get to that, but yeah, it's fantastic. It's just great. And one of the stranger things about this is I do remember on the old Y&T forum, Dave would pop in fairly regularly on there and answer questions for people. And apparently there must have been like a crazed fan that had made death threats because they were breaking up.
Oh, geez.
So he kind of had that on his mind when he was on stage, which is a really weird thing to think about. And we all know it can, I mean, it's scary. We all know it can happen.
Yeah.
And you think about Dimebag Darrell and like, but yeah, that just, and maybe that's one of the reasons why it wasn't filmed. I don't know. That's one of my only regrets about this is that it wasn't filmed and it didn't come out as a home video.
Yeah, no, that would have been awesome. John, what do you think about Hurricane?
So I got into Hurricane on Best of 81, 85 as well, because I came in on In Rock We Trust, and I got all those albums through 10 as new releases. And the next one I bought was Best of 81 and 85. When I heard Hurricane the first time, I'm like, this is hard rock, this is heavy metal. This is wicked. The guitar playing on here, particularly those unaccompanied solos that Dave has on here.
Oh yeah.
Are fantastic.
Yeah,
this is just this is just a rip roaring song. I mean, probably the heaviest song on Earthshaker, except maybe one other song we'll talk about a little bit later might be a little bit heavier.
Yeah.
But yeah, fantastic song live though. I mean, this sounds like it's gonna just fly off your turntable when you play the record, let alone how it's gonna sound live, and here it sounds ferocious.
Yeah, and Tim, you were talking about the this lineup of the band, and how great they are musically, and just to me it's almost it's almost like a new song, like um, with this lineup, and it added so much to it. I mean, I like the Earthshaker versions. I like the older versions of some of these songs, but I think some of these songs from the early '80s and even the '70s just got a real kick to them with this lineup, and uh, just added a lot to it. And this is one of those. And again, I think Dave might be peak vocals on this.
That's definitely something that elevates them for me is that he just sings them so much better than he did originally because his voice got that much stronger. And I think he kind of got into he was kind of a reluctant lead singer
Yep.
until he said, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to concentrate on this. The other thing I think is cool about these first two songs, I mean, Mean Streak and Hurricane, there's a couple of their heaviest songs, but they're also pretty fast. Like they got a really fast tempo. They bring them back a little bit. They're not quite as fast as the studio versions, but they find a really nice pocket that works. And it's not too slow, but I would rather hear a band slow a song down a little bit than you hear some live recordings from the 80s and they're 100 miles an hour and they don't sound right. They don't even you can hardly tell what song they're doing. So I like that they're letting them breathe here.
Yeah, I think there are a couple songs here coming up that were a little faster um, on there. But yeah, no, I think I agree with that. Next, what should have been an '80s staple song,
Absolutely.
"Don't Stop Running." So, John, what do you think?
Yes, the song, it should be a classic rock staple, not just in California.
Nope.
Yeah.
So I first heard this on the White Hot Masters of Metal compilation.
Yeah.
The 3 minute and 37-second
Yeah.
version, which cuts out most of the guitar solo. So when I bought In Rock We Trust a few months later, it was like a revelation to hear that solo in there and a longer fade out. So, but this is a fantastic song. I think this should be a classic rock staple. It is one of their more famous songs.
Yeah.
I'll say one thing. When I saw Y&T many, many years later, I didn't get to see him until 2015. I didn't realize how impressive this lead vocal was until I heard Dave sing it in 2015. I didn't realize how high a register he was going in back then until he sang it then. And it's a really hard song to sing live. And he wasn't quite going this high in 2015, but it makes sense.
Sure.
He wasn't. This is a fantastic song, though. I mean, I always loved the bridge on here, the great call and response in the bridge, and the great call and response in the choruses as well. And that solo is breakneck.
Yeah, and right from the get-go, it just boom.
Yes. Wicked song, wicked track.
Tim?
I think Don't Stop Running is probably the single best example of Y&T's essence distilled into one song. It's heavy, it's melodic, it's got hooks for days, it's excellent musicianship. Yeah. Um, should have been a hit. And coming from a radio background, I understand why you'd want to cut that middle part out. It gets pretty heavy. But but like John said, then you get the album and it's like hearing it for the first time again. I thought the same thing with Night Ranger, with Sister Christian and Sentimental Street, because you get to hear so much more of Brad soloing. And it's like, oh man, this is even better. I liked it already. Now I love it even more. Um, it's interesting because at this point, the only live Y&T I had heard, I picked up when I found Best of 81 to 85. I also happened to find there was a store that used to be called Suncoast in the States.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whatever happened to them, but they specialized. They had video games and
Yep.
the only music they had were soundtracks, and they specialized in music videos at a time when some record stores carried music videos. Not all of them did. Certainly, you weren't going to find a Y&T one, but I happened to find the live at the San Francisco Civic. So if it wasn't on Open Fire or the San Francisco Civic, I'd never heard a live version of it. So subsequently, I'd never heard Don't Stop Running live. This is a great version of it. And yeah, John raises a good point. It isn't so much that, you have songs where like, I wonder if he's going to hit that big high note at the end. It's the verses are in a really high, it's like Photograph by Def Leppard. It's right on 10 the whole time. I can't imagine there's much space to breathe as a singer. And I've also heard Dave say, if your drummer plays it too fast, watch out because you can't even, you literally don't have room to breathe. So, but
Yes.
this sounds fantastic.
Yeah. For me, it's like, Don't Stop Running. And the only thing it's missing is Lipstick and Leather before it. Those
Yeah.
two are always.
You expect those are like
Yeah.
feeling that way
They're,
anytime.
yeah.
We will
Yes.
rock you. We are the champions. You expect to
Yep.
hear those two songs. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, I get why they, it wasn't on this album here, but
They're two full songs though. So
yes. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, for me, I mean, Don't Stop Running is just, it's just the classic Y&T 80s song. It's what I, tell people to listen to that, maybe haven't heard Y&T. It's like you said, it's that
yeah,
perfect
this is
blend.
a starter song. I would say,
Yep.
listen, what do you like? And if they list a bunch of bands, I think you should listen to Don't Stop Running.
Yep. Yeah. And it seems like,
Listen to it before you watch the video.
Yes.
The video's
no,
no
yeah.
more or less cheesy than a lot of other 80s videos, but still, it makes an impression, right?
Yeah. And I was, the first time I heard this one live was actually, in person, on this tour. So that was quite the show there. All right. Next up, Struck Down, which, from the second album, Yesterday and Today. Man, just, that has that kind of, 70s vibe on that second album. And this one just, they have that late 80s, kind of early 90s take on this. And it's hard. It's crunchy guitar, like just, I think it's just an incredible version of this song. Probably the best I've ever heard on there. Tim, what do you think?
This was a new song to me. Like this was a revelation because now I knew what their second album was called. And here's the title song from it. And man, I just love it. And I would like to hear that entire album done this well because the production on the second album is legendarily bad. It's all flanged out and it's very dated sounding. But this is a great song. I mean, it's just got such power and it's a slow pounding, it's yeah, so good. Great lead guitar on it
Oh
too.
yeah.
And I don't know if Steph's playing some of the leads on this. It almost sounds like it might be him because it sounds like the unless it's Dave hitting the toggle switch because it doesn't have a lot of that top end, but it's just excellent, excellent. I'm so glad they saw it fit to not just put one of the songs from that album on here, but this one.
Yeah. No, this was easily the song from that album.
I would imagine they probably wouldn't have done this if this had just been another tour for another album. I can't imagine the last time any songs from Struck Down were in the set at this point.
Right.
Nope, John.
Yeah, I'd echo Tim's sentiments here. This is when I first heard Struck Down. And yes, well, what's very evident here is how much Dave's vocals had really improved between 76 and 1990. He became a wonderful singer by this point. But the execution here, it's played, it sounds even nastier, I think.
Yeah.
It is just heavy. I mean,
Yeah.
think about what's going on musically at this point. We're heading into the grunge era now. Grunge is starting to take over a lot of music fans' attention. And this is really heavy. Like, I'm not saying it's a grunge song, but it has grunge elements to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but this, again, this is closer to a heavy metal track, and it's slower by Y&T standards. So, yeah, this is a nasty killer version of this. And yeah, I definitely take this over the studio version for the reasons stated. Yeah, the recording on Struck Down, no, it's nothing to write home about. they had some issues with that.
I know
I
that's
mean,
not your favorite album, John.
no,
No,
but listen to the way that, I mean, even Dave's confidence in his vocals. You know,
right.
on the original version, he would be like tortured too, like he can't wait to say it to back away from the mic. On this, he's like tortured too, like
Yeah.
he's, you know, he's just getting right into it, and it really adds. Like a lot of the time, you'd think, okay, well, if it's from the '70s, back when they were like on the whole, they were heavier because Ten's not a heavy album, so to speak. But this sounds way heavier here than on the original version because of that production. And like any heaviness on that first album or the second album is crippled by the production.
Yes.
Then we go into the mid-tempo, don't call it a ballad, but Winds of Change. You know, for me, this really showcases, you know, Dave's voice at this time. You know, guitars just sound really crunchy on it. My favorite part is, you know, when the second verse starts, when he really kind of steps it up. You
Yeah.
know, it gets a little heavier on there, and then you know, for me, the harmonics that he uses, that guitar and the solo just adds so much to the song. It's a staple. I mean, they play this every every show I've ever seen. They played Winds of Change on there. Tim, what do you think?
Yeah, a really good example of how much better his vocals got because even on Black Tiger, his voice was so much deeper on those albums. I like those albums and the singing's fine, but he just got so much better. It's like there's a brightness that came out in his vocals, starting within Rock We Trust, I think. And by this point, he was just, you know, and that's it just didn't make sense to me that a band like this felt like they had to stop because of the music
Yeah.
business, just not, you know, things weren't going their way, yet they were, you know, they were stopping at the peak of their
Yes.
musical powers. Yeah, this is a great change of pace, but it's still once it kicks in, it really kicks in. Yeah, yeah. I'm glad they chose this to not represent the album, but I'm glad they put this on here.
John?
Very emotional version here too. I think that's what you really hear with Dave's vocals between when this would have been originally recorded in 81 and in late 1990. It's just a very powerful song. The solos on here are wonderful. The playing, the accompaniment is perfect on it. Like a song like this, you don't want to overplay. You want to stay right in that pocket and make sure that the vocal really stands out and the solo really stands out. This sounds excellent here. And I do like the placement of this here. It's not really a ballad. You really can't call it an epic too. It's just a very emotional track.
Yeah.
And I think it works perfect in this spot. And excellent version.
No, totally agree. The next, another staple song, Black Tiger. Tim?
Okay. I've I gotta say this. I've thought this since I first heard it. Of course, I first heard it when I was 16. But you know, at the beginning of Black Tiger, when you hear Dave go, "Thank you," then you hear a girl go, "YG." Yeah. I
Yeah.
always wonder if he didn't get flashed just then. Again, I was 16. I was like, wouldn't that be cool? But no,
Hey,
it's a great version. I mean, it's one of the quintessential riffs of the 80s. I mean, nobody wrote F sharp riffs like I'm going to say Joey Alves. I think Joey provided a lot of the riffs,
yeah, no,
but
absolutely.
it just sounds so and it sounds more powerful here again because I'm not a big fan of the production of the Black Tiger album. It just comes to life here. And you know, Jimmy again, he doesn't do Leonard's fills exactly, but they're close enough, and he captures the essence of the song. All of the da down, da down, da down, da, like the cymbal crashes and stuff. Everything's perfect on here, and the solo is just blistering. You know, Dave was just, you know, just one of the best. I mean, in this, you know, I've never heard a bad version of this song, and this is definitely one of the better ones.
Right. John?
Yeah, this is wicked. And the thing about this song and its construction, think about that opening part of that song. How many songs open like that in 1981 with something that creative?
Yeah.
Like something out of the jungle. And they are all making different sounds in the
Yeah.
studio to
And
create.
with the jazz hi-hats,
Yeah,
it's different. They were different.
absolutely. You hear that and you're like, okay, what's going to come next? And then you got this barn burner of a riff coming right at your throat.
Primal. Yeah.
Yes. And it's just excellent. I love the vocal delivery by Dave here because those lines are shorter and more effective because he's trying to add more of a feel to the track. And I love how the bass is a lot more up front on this song. Phil is such a wonderful bass player, but a lot of times I didn't. Sometimes you had to strain to hear him. On here, you don't have to.
Yeah.
Or the sort of studio version for that matter. And then the solo is a wicked solo. And the way it ends kind of abruptly. And then there's like a little fade out there at the end with the guitar. Everything about the construction of this song works very, very well. And live, I mean, I've seen him do it live. It always sounds great live.
Yeah, no, it does. And I think always love the Dave's use of that toggle switch in that solo, and I think he gave it a little extra. He
Yeah.
gave it a
Yeah.
couple little extra in that solo there. That's just
He must have burned
sounds
through so
incredible.
many of those switches.
Oh my gosh.
Because I mean, you do that over and over again. It's going to start cutting out when you don't want it to.
Yeah. Well, there's
So he
one
must
song
have had
coming up
to.
where he really does it, but
Yeah. Yeah.
um all right, so Midnight in Tokyo is next, and he mentions that there are a couple of women that traveled from Tokyo to see the last show. I actually met one of them, and I cannot remember her name
Oh
now,
wow.
in Vegas when they did the 2 nights at Vance. She was
Okay.
she came over for those shows,
Was
and
she mad that, she came all the way over? Like, you said they were your last. That's why we came.
no, she was happy.
It's like, you lied to me. Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny because she was there, and there was a huge group from Mexico, fans from Mexico that came up. There was probably 15 people or so from Mexico. So just just goes to show you, it was they had their diehard fans. So John, what do you think about this version of Midnight in Tokyo?
Oh, this is fantastic. And right after I say you didn't often hear Phil, you get a song where you really hear Phil, particularly on these verses.
Yeah,
But that guitar solo that begins the song is magnificent. A solo that you can sing.
yes,
Excellent. But this has perfect amount of drama to it. It has this slow burn into it through that pre-chorus before we go into the big chorus, which is awesome. It's very, very memorable. And then we go right back to that solo at the beginning in the proper solo. And then when Dave goes and sings the chorus again, he sings it in a different kind of tone than when the band does it in the first couple choruses. And you have the breakdown in here that works very, very, very well. It's a very well constructed song. It plays more like an epic, though, because you got all these different parts of the song, but they all work seamlessly together. Fantastic version on here as well. I don't know if I ever heard them. I saw them 3 times. I don't know if I ever saw them do this one live, but this is a fantastic version.
yeah. Tim?
It's such a great love song to a country that took them in from the beginning, the very beginning. And I have to say that, if it wasn't for Japan, I wouldn't have had a lot of their albums on CD in the early 90s because they were the only place that you could get them. This is great. I mean, it's very similar in construction to Forever because it starts
Yes.
with the guitar melody, ends with the guitar melody, but it's a fast shuffle in between. That's where the similarities end of their own song. This definitely has a little bit of that Eastern modality to it in the melody. Not like Kashmir, but it does have, you get the feeling it's somewhere far away, not your typical rock melody line. But I mean, once it kicks in, yes, it's a heavy rock song, but beautiful harmonies even then. Yeah, and it's got a real sense of drama, and it tells a story. It's very evocative. You can almost picture, like, being on the bullet train and going so fast, and how the ground shook when they got there, and um, yeah, it's fantastic. You know, just so far that they haven't put a foot wrong in terms of the songs that were chosen
No,
to represent this
no,
album.
yeah. Really, the only thing I'll kind of add is, something that I don't know why it never really kind of hit me before, but it kind of has that, once it gets cranking up there, it has that almost Iron Maiden gallop to
Well,
it.
it's got down the ticket to down the
Yeah.
ticket to down. Yeah,
Just you got
you can
that,
almost
I mean,
you can
you're
almost crank
moving,
them.
you're jumping, you're moving, yeah, exactly.
And the other thing that just occurred to me now is it would be interesting to, if a guitar player was so inclined that can do it, to do a multi-track version of the intro to this the way that From the Moon is on Black Tiger, but just the guitar,
Oh,
like down, 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 and then have the harmonies, like do the exact same thing. I'm glad they didn't do that, but it would be cool as an experiment for someone to do. This is what that would have sounded like if they'd have done the same thing.
yeah. All right, and then we got Beautiful Dreamer from the debut. So, uh man, again, to me, this band doing that song and kind of modernizing it, so to speak, just is just incredible. I always think about, not only the studio version, but the version from Winterland,
Yeah,
right? Which I think is a
the
really
black
good version.
the black and white.
Yes, the black and
Yeah,
white. Yeah. Yeah, one from Winterland, and this one just kills it. And I think, I mean, it's hard to tell because, the one criticism I have about live albums, and this one too, is when after a song it fades out and then it fades back in,
yeah,
so like, is this still kind of going in there? Because after this fades out, Dave comes back and he says, Steph Burns on guitar. So was it
yeah.
Steph that finished that solo?
I've always assumed that it was
Yeah,
the last, yeah,
on there.
because it
And
wasn't Dave's. It wasn't playing Dave's. It wasn't doing like it wasn't doing Dave's parts, but it was
uh,
cool.
yeah, but so Tim, just yeah, what else do you think about this version of Beautiful Dreamer?
Might be my favorite song on the album. Love the version of this on here. Um, And at the time, all I had was the version that was on Best of 81 to 85, right? That was it wasn't until 93 that I got the Mondo Records CD of the first two albums. And I like the fact, I was just talking to Brian about this before we filmed, how I like how there's those three official versions of it. They're all slightly different in their arrangement and yet very recognizable. Like they don't change it around so much, like that doesn't sound right, but they're all just different enough to stand. But it's a supercharged version of this, and yeah, I mean, even though now it doesn't seem that old. Okay, it was like 14 years old at the time. Well, that would be like somebody doing a song from 2012 now, but it
Yeah.
seemed a lot older.
Yep.
It seemed like back in the mist of time, especially since those albums were hopelessly out of print and practically mythical. But yeah, they do such a great version of this, and I like how it's interesting how Dave said this is the second song we ever wrote together as a band.
Yep. John?
Yes, destroys the original. And I heard it first on 81, 85. And when for many years, I was like, why is this song on here? How come we don't have more from in
That's
rock?
fair. That's fair.
That's how I felt back then. Cause I was like, oh, this is what they sound like when they're yesterday and today. I mean, this isn't really that hot to me. Then I heard this version and it sounds almost like a different track. I mean, I know the scope is still the same, but it just back then they weren't very well recorded. Dave hadn't found his singing voice yet. By this point, he certainly has a singing voice. The band is so much stronger musically, and they were great. They were good musically back in 76. but
Yeah.
they just didn't have the experience behind them. Now you got four juggernauts at their respective instruments here, and it sounds so much better here as in this live version, and it's fantastic. One of my favorites, maybe not my favorite track on this collection, but it is definitely a standout.
Yeah.
Excellent.
The only thing I'll mention is that little scream that Dave does, like that, everything in my life.
Everything in my life.
That's amazing. And then of course, Phil's backup, his vocals on, back on this is just, man, just incredible. Just a great song. All right, Val, it's my time to really gush. Um, Top 5 song for me, Y&T, is Hard Times. And this is by far the best version I have ever heard. It's the only time I've ever heard them do a little acoustic kind of intro to it, which I think is just amazing, the way they did it. Um, that build up and then, acoustically and then into the whole toggle switch thing is just incredible. Um, And then they saved the best for last for me. Because just when you think it's about to end, here they go.
Oh yeah.
And man, did they go. And it's just, I mean, the only word that I come up with is just that's fun. I mean, it is just fun. So, John, what do you think? What else can you say about this?
Yeah, to me, this might be my favorite song on the album, live version on the album, and for all the same reasons you said, Brian. I mean, I love the acoustic slow opening before it kicks in, and this song was pretty heavy and hard hitting as the opening track on 10, but here it just goes to another level. It is absolutely wicked. I don't even know what else would I put from this. Maybe Don't Be Afraid of the Dark would probably be the only other song.
Yeah,
And
we'll talk about that.
Yeah, and I like 10 a lot. But if you were to choose among those songs, it would be the single or it would be Hard Times. Oh, actually, there's one more that popped in my head, but I'll talk about it later. But yeah, this is dynamite. This is an excellent track. And like you say, it goes to another level at the end of the song. It's wonderful.
Tim?
I should say, like the combination of Beautiful Dreamer and Hard Times is definitely my favorite moment on the album. And I love the fact that they go from the first album all the way to the most recent album, as if to say, it doesn't matter. This band, these four guys can play anything from our catalog. I mean, it's the opening track of one of my all-time favorite albums. Now, I always wondered, like, I know Dave is a perfectionist, but when that kicks in with the toggle switch, it almost sounds like it's coming. It's like they're just playing that, and then the band kicks in. Or is it Dave being that exact that it sounds exactly like the album? The one thing I always thought was noticeable, and I don't know if it's because like Steph's guitar wasn't working, but when it kicks in with the drums, you just hear the drums and bass. Because on the album you hear a big power chord. You don't hear that. So I was wondering if it was like, shorted out on stage or if they did that on purpose. But what a fantastic version. It's great to hear Jimmy actually playing on Hard Times.
Yeah.
But as we know, those were always his parts that Steve Smith so generously recreated. But yeah, I mean, when it goes into that section at the end, it was like, it's different at the beginning and it's way different at the end. It's almost like a bonus track within a track.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that arrangement, like da 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 da. Like, I mean, it sounds like they did not want to stop, and I get that feeling a lot on this album. Like they were having so much fun on stage, and it's like, I wonder if even then they knew this is a break. This isn't forever. We're not going to stop doing this. It's too much fun. Just need to get out of the
I
get out of all the contracts and just live life for a bit.
Sounds like there's just a lot of bad feelings and they were just so frustrated that they just had to
just so over it. I mean, this is around the time like post 10. I know this is like Dave was approached by John Kalodner to do a project with Peter Frampton, and he turned it down, and also Don Barnes from 38 Special.
Yeah.
And he said no. He said I think I think I just need a break. And I've often wondered if that's what eventually didn't lead John Kalodner to Coverdale and Page. He's like, I got to put people together.
Could be. Could be. All right. Well, why don't you take us right into the next one there, Tim?
Well, this is interesting because it's an abbreviated title, but it's the only thing from Contagious on here. And it's totally appropriate at this point in the set. It's not a ballad, but it's just a great bluesy instrumental. I'll Cry, or I'll Cry for You, whatever you want to call it. Very faithful to the version that's on Contagious, but even more soulful and bluesy. And it just, to me, it just reinforces how I think in another lifetime, I think Dave might have struck out and done like a Gary Moore and gone from playing hard rock to just blues rock, because he had the chops to do it.
Well, he
And
put
to
out a
be
very
honest,
good blues album.
yeah, and to be honest, the voice too.
Yeah.
But he almost, it wouldn't have surprised me if he'd have started doing it sooner. But yeah, it's a great version.
It is a great version, and interestingly, we're getting something this soulful and emotional at their last show.
Yeah.
I'm gathering they didn't play this live often, so this was a perfect occasion to play something like this that's so emotional. I'll Cry for You, where the guitar sounds like it's crying at times.
Yeah.
So in this forum, it works very, very well. Great instrumental that ends the Contagious album proper. And it's just very well played. And Dave's voice through the guitar here sounds amazing. Some of the solos on here, I mean, what he can do with one note during this solo is magnificent. It's a wonderful track.
Yeah. Echo everything you guys said. I'm not one for instrumentals for the most part. But this is always one that I will always listen to, and I will always love to hear live. Because
That last bend,
yes,
that
oh my
down,
God.
down, down, like it just nobody has a vibrato like Dave.
Just
It's so emotional, it's so vocal.
Yeah, and I think maybe there's only, well, except for, before Contagious came out, obviously, but since Contagious came out, the times that I've seen them, they played this song. So I've seen it multiple times, and I love watching him play it. He just, I mean, just it just, his soulfulness just echoes throughout the whole building, and just the way that, on that guitar, just yeah, I would watch him do that for 10 minutes. I mean,
Yeah.
so just a great song. And then that leads into another one from Earthshaker, which again for me is just so much better live. I Believe in You. It's another staple. They just have to play. I always say that this, has kind of, it's two different guitar solos in it, and sometimes even three at the end if they want to extend it. Um, the harmonics again in the solo are just amazing. It's just another passionate song. John, what do you think?
Oh yeah, every version I've ever heard or seen live of I Believe in You was stellar. Yes, three guitar solos if they choose to do that. But the second solo, I think some of those notes that you can really sing are they'll make you cry.
Yeah.
And it's just I love everything about this song, even the more of the bluesy opening when you just heard that guitar in the below the surface, and then you have Dave's vocal coming in, and the call and response between he and his guitar during those verses. And it's another one of these slow burns before it goes into the chorus. It's just I Believe in You's the chorus, but it's the way that the band is singing it and the call and response between the band and the ad-libbing from Dave. And after the first solo, how it takes you up to this big high and then it just comes right back down again. It has more of that same feel that you had at the very beginning, and then it builds again, and then we get the solo, and then if we choose to stretch it out at the end where we're playing it more double time and the solos there, no matter what they do with this song, it's always going to sound amazing between the playing and Dave's passionate vocal on this. It's a Y&T classic, and for a good reason.
Tim?
I mean, talk about a gut punch. I mean, you go from All Cry to this. I mean,
Yes.
very emotional for those that were in attendance and those that were on stage, I'm sure, especially Dave and Phil, the guys that had been there all along. One thing I did notice about this is that Jimmy, he goes back into the halftime. Like he doesn't play once, because on the studio version and every other live version I've heard, once it not speeds up but goes into double time, it stays there. This one, Jimmy goes back, but it's to no detriment of the song. It's just different. Um, I don't think there exists a bad version of this song, and I don't think there exist two identical versions of this song. So I think
Well,
Dave
yeah, that's the
plays
thing.
and sings it different every time, and to like his guitar playing is an extension of his voice. When he's not singing, his guitar's singing, and this is probably the best example of that.
Yep, absolutely. Just it's yeah, has to be part of the set
Yeah.
every time. Next he turns it over to his as they says on the album, 17-year partner over there. Phil's vocal on Squeeze. This would be probably I got two takes on this. One, it's the best he's ever sounded. Two, if there's any dubbing that was done, maybe this was it. I don't know. I hope not, but I think it's the best sounding. I've never been a fan of Phil as a lead vocalist. Background, he adds that unique and it just works. But I think sounds really good on this song. Tim, what do you think?
I don't think it's pre anything. I think this was live. This was the first time I heard this song. It was only a few months after that I was able to track down the Earthshaker CD. So at the time when I finally did get Earthshaker, it turns out I'd heard half of the album, or I knew half of the songs on the album, but I'd never heard this before. Um, I didn't know Phil ever sang lead. I had a lot to learn, obviously. Um, and I think that it comes in a good point in the set because, like I said, we just said those two very emotional songs. Now, let's lighten it up a little bit because this is a fun song. Um, Phil, yeah, I mean, I like it. I mean, I remember like I only heard this a couple months before I heard the studio version. One thing I like that he does on here that he doesn't do on the studio version is I don't ever want to please it because I love the yes I do. He doesn't do that on the studio version. I like that. I just it's a little bit of attitude,
Yeah,
but no, I like it. It was
John?
this and Struck Down were new songs to me when I got
Yeah.
this.
This I already knew. But I heard it on our college radio station, which on Saturday afternoons would play metal from noon to 3 p.m. So you'd hear some Y&T deep tracks on there. So that's where I first heard Squeeze. So this is a wicked version. Again, as Tim pointed out, we're going off of two emotional roller coasters, and then we're just going into this jackhammer, fast rock and roll song. And Phil's voice much different than Dave's. Dave has a great lead voice. Phil is a great harmony voice. Lead, he just rocks. It just, he's not the strongest lead vocal, but on a song like this, where you just want to kick ass and take names, it works. The band's performance on this is excellent. Again, they could play anything. This is a wicked track and a perfect placement because towards the end of the set, you want to really bring out the really hard rockers, more party songs, and that's what Squeeze is. So it works here very well.
What I thought was always so funny is that I've always thought that Phil Kennemore and Tom Peterson from Cheap Trick kind of resembled each other.
Yes.
And they kind of have similar voices because I'm not a fan of, like, you hear him sing like I Know What I Want. He's not a great singer.
No.
It's almost like, are these guys brothers? Because it's like they kind of look alike and they're both bass players and they kind of sound alike when they sing. It's like Jonathan Cain. I don't like Jonathan Cain's lead vocals, but his background vocals are perfect for a Journey.
No,
So,
absolutely. And then that leads us into the last song of the original version anyway. Another, I know I've said it before, staple songs, but Forever. So, John, why don't you take it?
I like the version of Forever on here a lot. I'm more partial to the version on Open Fire. I think the version on Open Fire is tremendous.
Yeah.
This version, I think, is very good, but it has everything that you like about this song. It has the wonderful guitar lines on here, great call and response in the pre-chorus and the chorus. Excellent track. It's one of their best songs, and of course that great musical bridge, which leads into the solo, is very, very heavy and menacing. And you have those great guitar lines while the band is playing the rhythm part. That complements each other, both parts, very, very well. The solo here is wicked, and the way it ends just like it begins, like we did with a few other songs here we talked about, and it is fantastic. Those loud notes that Dave's getting out of his guitar near the end there at the end of the song, fantastic. So yeah, this is one of my favorite songs by Y&T, period. And you have to have this on here. It's fantastic.
Yep. Tim?
I think I agree with John. I really like the version of this that's on Open Fire. What I don't like is its placement in the track listing, because it's like it comes right after Summertime Girls. So it's like, okay,
Yes.
you're starting the live set back up, but you're doing it with a song they usually play last. I mean, I think next to Don't Stop Running, this might be another quintessential Y&T song because it's got all those elements of why we love them, because they rock, but they're melodic and memorable, and they do things that they make decisions that not all bands did. There's some smart arranging in there, but they don't make it sound, it's not prog. They don't make it sound complicated, but I would imagine a lot of these songs would be really complicated to pull off properly. Anytime you're playing something syncopated, like over a shuffle beat, like John said, like that riff. I've like on the documentary, you see Joey play it, and he's not moving around a lot, but his fingers are, it's very fast, and you got to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's like if you got one step off, it would ruin it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great. I mean, it's just a proper way to close the show, I think.
The only other thing I'll add for this song that I kind of caught on here is that I really didn't notice much before is at the beginning there, and I don't know if it's Dave or Steph that starts off the guitar link, but for like about 5 seconds, and then the second guitar kicks in on top of it, which sounds really cool. Especially like if you're listening to headphones, you can really kind of pick up on that. I thought
that's
really...
back to that good live recording, like
yes. Absolutely. So, well, luckily for us, Metal Blaze decided to re-release this back in 2023 and gave us 2 bonus tracks. So, first one, Earthshaker. Tim, why don't you talk about Earthshaker?
Well, when I first heard they were putting this back out, my first thought was, oh, good, for people that didn't get this first time around, they'll be able to get it. I wasn't going to get it. And then I realized it was 2 bonus tracks, and it was like, I'm going to get it. I have to.
Yeah, well, I had 5 vinyl variants that I had to get, so.
But again, this would have been a brand new song to me. I didn't. It would be another 2 years, like from when this first came out, when I got the first album. And again, it's great hearing. I wish they'd have re-recorded the first 2 albums in a more modern form. Just just to bring those songs to life. I always thought it was interesting. They had a song called Earthshaker, and then it was 2 albums later. It's like Queen did with Sheer Heart Attack, and well, no, that was the other way around, wasn't it? But
The
but
other way
it's Def Leppard did it with On Through the Night, and Led Zeppelin did it with House of the Holy, and
Holy, yeah.
Dawkins done it. I don't know how many times. Um, but it's a great version of it, and it's great to hear. It's so weird because I know the rest of the album so well. I want to get these 2 songs ingrained as well, but I'm curious where this fell in the set because I know
Yeah.
they didn't encore with this
No.
because it's too obscure. So I'm glad I'm glad. I would have been happy. Hey, something different, sure. I wouldn't have cared if it was a live version of Summertime Girls with this lineup. I'd like to heard that, but this was cool. It's a song that's off the beaten path.
Yeah. John?
Yes, and I feel the same way. It seems a little weird being placed here, but again, they did this many, many years later. I'm wondering if they played this right around the time they played Struck Down in the set, because they're going to go, okay, we're going to go back to our roots here. And then you go,
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna reminisce big time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yes, this is much stronger version for the reasons we've been saying about some of those originals on the Yesterday and Today album. It makes the Earthshaker's song, the original one, sound more like a demo. This is a very cool version. Not one of my favorite songs by Y&T. I will say this is my least favorite song on this album. But I love everything else.
Yeah.
But it's a much better version of what you had originally. And they do make it a lot stronger. But first album, you're a lot of times you're just getting sometimes you're putting out your best stuff early, and sometimes you're growing into that position. And I think that's what happened with Y&T. Now I know a lot of people really love that first album because it's heavier, but I think the songwriting really improved by Earthshaker. The album, the third album. Here, this is a decent song, but it's made much stronger because of all the musicians involved.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. But I think if you take this and Beautiful Dreamer and Struck Down, this would be third
Right.
of those three. It didn't quite get the same kick, I think, that those other two songs did. But like to your point, Tim, I'd much rather have it than not. So
Oh yeah, when
definitely
I
on
found out
there.
this is one of the bonus tracks, I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to hear it's
Yep.
with this sound, this band doing such an old song.
Yep. So and then well, feel like I'm repeating myself here, but Y&T has those staple songs, and Rescue Me is one of those too, which is, I think I mentioned to you, Tim, earlier that a bonus track being Rescue Me, it just seems weird. But here we are. And I think the great version, acoustic guitar again, which is a little strange for this. But the way they pull the crowd in at the beginning and kind of stop playing and let them sing, is so cool. Um, the only thing that I thought the background vocals on this were a little low. Like I felt like that maybe they should have been a little higher in the mix. But it's Rescue Me. It's that solo. I mean, it's classic. So, John, what do you think?
Yes, it was an emotional night for them to go and play this as an acoustic song, what we thought would be their last shows. And I like the version here. I agree with you. The backing vocals don't sound quite as strong as the rest of the album. But yes, the solo on here is magnificent as it was on the studio version. This is a Y&T standard. They have to play it. We have like 3 songs probably from that first album alone. I'm sorry, the third album.
Third album, yeah. First is Y&T.
Yeah.
Thank you. First is Y&T. Yeah, Rescue Me. And I originally heard this on Open Fire. So that live version has always stuck with me. This version's a little different because We have the acoustic guitar on here with same kind of emotion, maybe even more so on this version. But it's an excellent version. And even at this spot in the album, and I know we're just tacking on the two bonus songs, I don't really have an issue ending the show with Rescue Me.
No.
Because Y&T, at their core, they're known for making melodic and passionate rock and roll. And that's what you have here. They, even when they slowed down things a little bit, when they would slow things down, I mean, there were a few bands that were in their league when they would slow a song down. And you really have that on Rescue Me. I mean, some of their most memorable songs are the ones that are a little bit slower, closer to ballads. Like, I wouldn't say this is a ballad, but it has ballad elements to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Excellent way to end the album. I'm glad that we got this version on here.
Yep. Tim?
It's funny, like, the album came out and I bought it and I liked it. And it never occurred to me, I never once thought, just strange that Rescue Me isn't on here. But now that it's a bonus track, it's strange that Rescue Me wasn't on there to begin with, because that's such a well-known song for them. I mean, that was a legitimate hit in the Bay Area.
Right.
It's not my favorite version of the song. I don't think it's anywhere close to as, like, the Open Fire version is fantastic. I like the version on the San Francisco Civic. It's good. But I have to wonder, maybe that's why it wasn't on the original. Maybe they thought this isn't the best version of this song. I'm so glad we get to hear it now, and I can't help but wonder what else there may have been recorded. Like, give us a 3 CD version of this. But yeah, it's just a little bit different, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
But like I said, it never even occurred to me when I first got the album, why isn't Rescue Me on here? Here's what's on it. But now that I see it's a bonus track, it seems funny that it's a bonus track, right?
Yeah.
It's like, that's odd. It's like, oh yeah, a couple bonus tracks, Mean Streak and Black Tiger. Oh, okay, thanks.
All right. So real quick, is there we'll kind of go around here. Is there a song or two you think is missing and should have been included on here, Tim?
I would have liked to have heard them do, not just to have something on the album, but just about anything from Down for the Count. Take the keyboards out and just play it for what it is. Like, I'd love to hear this lineup do In the Name of Rock. That would be really, really cool. Or Hands of Time. Imagine Hands of Time, like more like that acoustic version that's on Unearth Volume 2.
Yep.
Yeah, Contagious would have been cool. It would have been cool to have Contagious on here, but I like the mix of, you've got some standard songs, but then you've got a few deeper cuts, and it did the trick for me as far as introducing me to a few songs, which most times live albums don't. You've heard them all. So this came out at a really good time for me as a fan, and it's still one of my favorite live albums.
John?
That's still, we were talking about Lipstick and Leather being like a segue and a Don't Stop Running before. Yeah, I would have liked to have heard that on this album. And that was my gateway into Y&T, but it's still my favorite Y&T album. So Lipstick and Leather, which was a popular song on MTV back in the day too. I would put that on there. Contagious, I was thinking about. I was thinking about Surrender from.
Oh, I knew for some reason I was thinking that. I'm like, Surrender would have been.
Yeah.
Because isn't that on Live at the Mystic?
Yeah.
It's on Live at the Mystic, but it's tuned down, right? I would have liked to have heard it because Dave, it would have been in the original key because that's a high song. But yeah, and you know what? I would have been content with that as the last song because it makes sense as the last song.
Yeah, I don't think they tuned it down in One Hot Night Live or whatever.
No, I don't think so. But on Live at the Mystic, it's definitely tuned down.
Yeah, all those, and I know this is one that's really popular too, but Dirty Girl would be a nice inclusion.
Yeah.
This is just a supercharged. This is Y&T's Alive 3, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a superior lineup, and they could do anything from this period and make it sound great. So, I mean, it sounds greedy to say, I want to hear all of it, but, yeah, you can't help but wonder what this lineup would have done with so many of the songs, like 25 Hours a Day, You know, if they're going to do something off the first album, and
Well, and
but do it.
they were playing "Go for the Throat" too, which obviously was on Open Fire, but
Yeah, but
well,
Jimmy slamming the drums down on that, like,
for me, I think the one missing track is "Open Fire." That
yeah,
I
yeah,
would have loved to have heard, "Surrender" or "Lucy" even, which I know they
yeah,
played "Lucy" on a couple of those farewell shows as well. I think that would have been cool. I think that those two would have fit in really well with the Psalms too. But yeah, Open Fire was just kind of the missing, especially with that lineup. Would have
yeah.
loved to have heard that. So, all right. Well, that's our take on yesterday and today live. I think Tim, you had that as one of your best live albums of the '90s, correct?
It definitely, yeah, absolutely, yeah,
I think we all agree that's just the sound is just amazing
yeah.
on this album. I think
And for
it's
anybody watching, I think it's still available, that reissued version. So you can go.
yeah,
I think
no,
you
go
should be able to go get it without, costing you too much money. So take a
definitely
chance. If
go
you've
grab
never
it.
heard it, buy the CD version and thank us later.
Yes.
So
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, all right, any final thoughts from you guys? All good. All right. Well, thank you guys. If you haven't seen it yet, check out part one where I go through all the vinyl variants of that, and I'll put that up here in the top corner here for you guys to check out with that. But Tim, John, thanks again for coming on and talking Y&T with me. I really appreciate it. This was definitely a fun one to talk about, and I know we'll do another episode here sometime soon. So. Um, Check out Tim's channel down below too, along with John's channel as well. Some great content on there. I'll put the links down below. Check those out. Hit like and subscribe down below for me. Put in your comments about what you think about these songs and what, if any, songs you would have loved to have heard on this album, on this live album. So, again, guys, thanks again. Everybody, take care.